With his one hand, he's taking out his amputated hand and gesturing, "Doctor, put it back."
Hi, it's Beard Biceps time. I'm reacting to Siachen, Africa and combat stories, Maj Samar Toor on the Indian Infantry, the Ranveer show 258. And because of the length of the video, it will be two parts. Let's get to it.
I saw rebels with amputated arms carrying a AK with just one arm, and with his one hand, he's taking out his amputated hand and gesturing, "Doctor, put it back." And he had gangrene, smelling, blood red eyes, on drugs. The day we had to go on the first flight to South Sudan, from the same flight, I was the nominated officer from my platoon to receive mortal remains of Lieutenant Colonel Mahipal. He was from mechanized infantry, who were ambushed in Bor. Cargo terminal say I was getting the paperwork done, receiving the mortal remains. And side by side, I was seeing my troops lined up, going to board the same aircraft, जिसके luggage bay से ये coffins आए थे. And I knew that where we are going to go right now is not what everyone has been perceiving it to be.
So we've done a bunch of military podcasts with special forces veterans, but the infantry is one of the most, and I'm using this word positively, but one of the most chaotic aspects of the army. Life in the infantry is all about chaos, going into situations and figuring out what to do on the spot, thinking about teamwork, thinking about combat very actively. It's a very chaotic lifestyle, as Maj Samar Toor spoke about in today's episode. The biggest joy I get out of doing these podcasts is absorbing experiences from so many of my guests. And there's a limited amount of experiences you can gain from someone who spent most of their time in urban environments. But what about someone who spent so much of their time on the Siachen glacier? What about someone who spent their time in Africa? What about someone who spent their time primarily on the battlefield? This is a conversation with a warrior, another epic military podcast. Maj Samar Toor is on the Ranveer show today, sharing all his experiences and all his perspectives.
I have reacted to a lot of his podcasts, especially his military ones, and I will go ahead and link them down below and maybe put one as an end screen.
Maj Samar Toor, welcome to the Ranveer show.
Thank you, Ranveer.
Thank you for being here, sir. You have such a friendly face, and I know that there is such a dominating, badass energy behind that face. So I very, very Punjabi energy. I love it. How's it going, sir? How are you?
So far, so good.
Okay.
As usual.
Okay.
That's how it goes, Life is like that. And even if it is so far not good, we better make it good. So that's how it is.
What does an army career do to a person's mind?
It helps you acclimatize to your surroundings, even in the most uncomfortable manner or a situation you are in. I mean, it makes you accept the situation in which you are. So it readies you to face all odds out of your comfort zone. Because as I always said, life is intense. That is why heartbeat ka pattern is like a frequency, And if that frequency goes, it becomes straight. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's how, army molds you as per the frequency of fluctuation in your life.
Yeah.
So mentally, it's shaping you to take on all odds, whatever you're going to face inland or abroad, wherever you may be. So yeah, it keeps you ready.
So he just summed that up really well, but I'm also going to talk on a more superficial level. From the moment we got off the bus at U.S. Army basic training, we were told that you have to call all civilians sir or ma'am. So since that day, over 20 years ago, I have it in my mind that I call everyone sir or ma'am, even if they're younger than me. And I also have it in my mind that I have to be 10 to 15 minutes early wherever I go. And of course, let's not forget, you don't walk on grass. You always stayed the sidewalks.
Would not want to face a guy like you in battle. Like, I mean, every officer that I've met, there is this one very thin layer of intimidation, I feel, maybe in the first microsecond of meeting the person, which goes away. The moment you smile, the moment you talk, it fades away. But in your warrior avatar, I would not want to face an Indian Army officer. And I've met enough to know that they're all badasses. Like the Indian Army is a very aggressive force. That's what I'll say. And I don't get how, with the internet in the modern day, with internet penetration, how these terrorists are not understanding the ferocity of the Indian armed forces. Why would they consciously want to take on people like yourself?
We are trained to lay down our lives mentally and physically. We've been trained, we've been programmed in a much better and a refined manner where I am, while in service, I was and I still am mentally and physically ready to go into battle, and I am ready to accept the consequences of my wife becoming a widow or my children becoming orphan. I mean, that is the kind of patriotism and that zeal and that, peppy enthusiasm and josh that we still have. And that's not going to go. It's like a positive virus that has been imbibed into us. That tomorrow, if they say, okay, you guys are veterans, but you need to go in there, I'm not going to think twice. I'm going to go in. So if they think they are Fedayins, we are even more worse than what they think we are. It's just that, we are controlled. We are working in a organization where we have to protect democracy. We got to protect civilization. We got to create an atmosphere of comfort for our citizens. We got to protect them from the bad element. And they say that in search of a hero, there devils exist. But in terms of destroying the devil, you need a bigger devil. I mean, in today's scenario, it has come to that to teach a devil a lesson, you got to be a bigger devil.
Yeah.
We are not here to be heroes. We are here to tell them to lay off.
I think he said that really well, that, they're trying to create comfort and protection of their citizens and their people. Whereas terrorists, they don't care about anyone. They will literally kill a child, do bad things to women, etc. They don't care. They're just thinking that they're fulfilling their duty to God or whatever. And can someone tell me, he said Fidaean or something? What is that exactly?
Because it's already too late for their mindset to change. So now it's time that we already give them a message that it's better to lay off, because you're going to meet a dead end anyways.
They will never change their mindset. You can't rehabilitate a terrorist who's hell-bent on killing everyone.
I want to ask you both about your first combat experience and the one that was the most intense or the one that stayed with you the longest. I'll let you pick whichever one you want to talk about first.
I'll tell you first time when I handled the mortal remains. I was at Siachen. So, it's fight against nature over there. The environment is so harsh. And, that was my first posting, So I felt like a physical stud and everything. But that is one terrain which pushes you beyond your mental will.
Why?
It's very difficult. There is, you have to fight for oxygen to breathe. You got to fight to gather your energy after every 20 steps. You got to carry your own battle load in that environment. There are blizzards, there are crevasses, the
Pulmonary
temperature is in
edema.
minus. You got to fight against frostbite. You got to fight against high altitude pulmonary edema. The condensation effect. In a glass, if you put cold water and you put it out in the warm environment, so you see the droplets. So in the lungs, water accumulates due to the variation of the
Body's temperature.
body temperature and the outside temperature and the air that we're taking in.
So I'm a combat medic and I never learned that. I mean, that's very interesting. Is this the first time that you guys have heard that also, or did you know that that was even possible?
So you got to fight it out, and these are things beyond it's beyond human control.
Can you describe Siachen sort of from the first time you saw it, in terms of what was in your mindset about how it would look, how it would be, versus what did it actually look like and what did it actually feel like?
Once I got to know where my unit was, so I just boarded the aircraft. I was wearing my normal combats. My jacket and everything was in my bag. So the moment I landed,
Bad move.
I had a particular place there. And the moment, that gust of wind hit my face when I walked onto the stairway, onto the tarmac, that is where I realized, I said, this kind of chilled air I have not experienced yet. And that is where the troops alongside me said, Saab, kuch pehn lo.
Like
Dekh lena type.
wear something warm.
Yeah, because I was that unprepared,
And that is what we call a reality check.
I'd never been to such a terrain ever. And that's the highest battlefield on earth.
How old were you?
I was probably 24 years of age.
And what are the temperatures like?
It used to go up to minus 30.
Wow.
Ooh.
Minus 30.
Minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
I've been in like -5 and it was like horrible cold. I don't even. There's no way my imagination even reaches that point. Why don't you describe what minus 30 degrees Celsius feels like?
Minus 30 used to be like, when I feel helpless, I start to laugh. When things go beyond my control. So at times I used to sit there, I used to start laughing, and they used to ask, "Saab, kya ho gaya?" So I used to be like, यार मुझे अपनी बेबसी पे हंसी आती है.
Like you were laughing at your helplessness.
Yes, that's the best motivating factor that I could face, In fact, when we used to go even to the loo, we used to time it. That will not be in the loo for more than 180 seconds.
Really?
That's like 3 minutes.
So their bathroom was outside? I mean, was it like an outhouse or? Oh, that would suck.
So it used to be that bad.
If you go beyond that 3-minute mark, what happens?
I mean, it affects your body, that kind of temperature and that kind of altitude, your body organs and your metabolism. Because see, you're at such a height and there's no oxygen. So firstly, you don't get sleep. You need sufficient oxygen for your mind to be at ease and calm and to sleep. So oxygen kam hai, neend kam aati hai. Number two, you need oxygen to digest your food. Again, due to lack of oxygen, you don't feel like eating food. और वहाँ पे, 2 potatoes, I mean, you've taken 2 stones and you've hit them together, right? Potatoes and tomatoes used to be like that. It used to take, where in a normal condition, it takes just half an hour for food to boil and get ready. Or at times even overboil within half an hour. It used to take 1 hour for it to just become normal in its thawing process.
Whoa.
So that was the ground reality that hit us, and we had rations there, but we couldn't consume because, it is humanly not possible to consume it. We didn't, because, you're fighting against nature.
What is the food that you're given there?
See, we have tinned food, preserved food, like we have canned pineapples, canned chikus, baked beans, and then we have dry rations.
MREs.
Then we have for energy we have chocolates.
Or
What is a dry ration?
maybe.
Dry ration is like dry kind of masalas and everything,
Okay.
because they can't be in that semi-solid state. Then we have MREs, meals ready to eat, for putting it in boiled water.
Doesn't the Indian Army have their own version of MREs though? Because those are the same ones that are given to U.S. troops.
What does it taste like?
It tastes good, but the technical aspect of it is, it causes constipation. So
He just hit the nail on the head. Yes, that statement right there just made him even more credible, because that would be the complaint of every soldier and Marine that you will meet, is that MREs cause constipation. Oh my gosh.
obviously, operationally, when you carry all these things with you in your backpack, so obviously I can't keep going to the loo. So they're manufactured in such a way, technically and scientifically, with the specifications, that once I consume that particular MRE, probably I need to go and clear my stomach probably in 12 hours or maybe 18 hours than in a usual environment where I need to go after 4 5 hours or something. So yes, it does have a effect on your body mechanism and metabolism. I mean, ठीक है, we are officers, but at such heights, 20,000 plus feet above sea level and minus 20, minus 30, you can't be nagging your troops all the time. You got to make an environment comfortable to them. You got to keep acquainting them with the training. You got to keep training them on the weapon systems. You got to keep updating them about current affairs and all. And probably, like when my father was in Siachen during his times, there was no connectivity at all. They used to just write letters, inland letters. They used to just write the blue ones. You could fold them and just seal them and send it.
This is in the 80s.
Yeah, this is in the 80s.
So when
I'm
you're
talking about my dad was in Siachen in 86, 87.
Roughly when it was recaptured.
84 it was taken
Ah,
over.
yes.
Okay.
And Op Meghdoot came into place on 13th of April, 84, I believe so. And my father was there in 86,
I
87.
think it's important very briefly to just touch upon why it was even retaken. There's a lot of Gen Z listeners, teenagers who are not familiar with the Siachen story. Everyone knows what Siachen is. Everyone knows how brutal it is. Not everyone knows the backstory. So if you could just brief the listeners a little bit.
Siachen is
So I think on my military channel, I did actually react to the world's highest battlefield, and they did talk all about this operation. I'll go ahead and link that down below for you guys. But it's a very interesting story, though.
tactically situated. It's a glacier, basically. And the reason why it was taken in haste was it is a tri-junction where it borders with Pakistan and China. And that is the tipping point where the distance between Afghanistan and India is the least. So what comes in between is the Karakoram range. So when I was posted there, uh, we used to hear the blasting taking place on the enemy side.
What
So-
do you mean? What do you mean?
Blasting is basically the Chinese were helping them construct this Karakoram highway.
Okay.
China was helping who? Afghanistan or Pakistan?
So the whole day, we used to keep, acha, itna blasting hua,
You could see geopolitics live in front of you.
Yeah, we saw it unfold, and we could even see the satellite systems that the enemy used to use to overpass our location and all. So we are aware.
Okay.
If they are watching us, probably we are watching them more.
Yeah. Which is why strategically that particular point is very important. On the
Yes,
Indian
very
map.
critical. Yes.
Which is why it's guarded almost throughout the year. And I don't want to say the winter because what happens then in the winter, honestly?
Winters is very excruciating. There's a lot of blizzards that take place.
It's kind of left alone, right? Like there's no one who serves during the winter.
No. It's occupied. See,
It's occupied.
Yeah, with time and technology and the kind of equipment we have, these are occupied throughout the year now.
1 second. So when you're saying minus 30 degrees Celsius, I'm assuming you're talking about the summer.
Yeah.
So how cold does it get during the winter?
You see, it remains almost at par at this temperature itself. Itna hi rehta hai. In crevasse, it goes up to -70, -80. So there we are told during our training in Siachen Battle School that if you go into the crevasse, you do not have more than half an hour to survive. So this is what they tell us in training, that every step you take, think twice, follow the drills.
What's the logic of a crevasse? Like, is it that as you're walking on land, suddenly something can open up and you can fall in?
See, it's all ice that you're walking on. Basically, udhar land bhi nahi hai. It's all compact ice. So ice is of different density. कहीं पे बहुत soft ice है, कहीं पे it is literally hard ice, crystallized ice. You know, I mean, even if you would fire a bullet into it, probably the bullet would not even go more than like 15 centimeters beyond, you know, that tough ice.
So whenever you see movies or videos of people doing these expeditions or hikes on these glaciers or this kind of environment, you will actually see the team members actually tethered to each other. That way, if someone does accidentally fall into a crevasse, that their team members will be there to stop their descent. And you can also do something called self-arrest, where you use an ice pick to try to stop you falling as well. But
So
it's very dangerous.
the density of ice is different. Then you know the ice is shifting and melting constantly. तो इस पे क्या होता है, बीच में gaps आ जाते हैं. So what usually happens is the top layer of the ice is visible because you know snow keeps falling constantly. So the snowflakes, they keep interlocking and you know it becomes like a carpet, you know. So we keep probing. Every step we take, first we probe with the rod to check whether you know the rod is going to go right in. Means there's a lot of depth to it. So let's check. So with the ice axe, then we you know remove the ice to check. So if there is a gap in between, it's your lucky day. You didn't go in. So probably you change your route. But usually we mark our routes and we know that this is the actual route that we keep taking. But you know, when there's a lot of snowfall, that track gets covered again. So you got to again, you know, it's a task again that you got to recheck because the ice keeps shifting. So we can't take things for granted कि यार ठीक है रास्ता है तो चलो चलें. Can't do that.
Be very careful about where you travel.
Every step you take.
Have you fallen in?
No.
And it's a luck factor about you falling in.
It's yeah, you could say it's all luck, destiny. You know, it's you know that's what I say. It's like on the edge. It's like you know you got to accept few things in life. You know, I can't move on. You know, with a fear factor. Arey kya hoga? Nahi. That's what I. You know, that is how we are programmed. You know, like get it on, yaar. If I'm in, I'm in. My fight is now how to come out of it.
I think this is a great point to actually begin speaking about Sudan. And we've had Colonel Bairwan on the show, who
Okay.
gave us a little brief kind of insight into the situation in South Sudan.
I remember that podcast, and it was really good, and I did react to it, so I'll put that down below as well.
You've been there for 2 years of your life. Probably, I would argue, in the prime of your career, you served in Sudan.
Yes, immediately after Siachen.
Immediately after. So you're done with Siachen. You've seen a version of hell, icy hell almost. You got a break of a bit, maybe, or maybe you didn't even get a break.
6 to 7 months, that too preparing physically, training hard, getting to know about the South Sudanese culture,
Which is what?
traditions, customs.
Okay.
It's see the division of Khartoum and Juba. Khartoum, when I say, is North Sudan, and Juba is South Sudan. Was based on religion. So Khartoum is Muslim dominated, and South Sudan is Christian dominated.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then they consist of multiple tribes, but the main tribes which are there are Dinka tribe and the Nuer tribe. So President Salva Kiir is a Dinka, and Vice President Riek Machar is a Nuer. So in 1992, there was a rift between these two tribes, where a lot of Dinkas were massacred. And probably that fallout took place, unfortunately, in 2013, where the Dinkas then hit back at the Nuers. However, the Nuers were the ones who tried to do a military coup and try to assassinate President Salva Kiir, and there things went beyond out of control. And there are few footages where I have reported about tanks firing at people there by the rebels, and we were also a constant target there. So in 2013 we were to move in, and excitement was there, but things drastically changed the day we had to go on the first flight to South Sudan. From the same flight, I was the nominated officer from my Paltan to receive mortal remains of Lieutenant Colonel Mahipal. He was from mechanized infantry, and four other ranks जो जवान्स हैं, uh, who were ambushed in Bor of Maha regiment. So it was a very eerie and a very goosebump kind of a feeling, where cargo terminal say I was getting the paperwork done, receiving the mortal remains, and side by side I was seeing my troops lined up going to board the same aircraft जिसके luggage bay से ये coffins आए थे.
So the scene he is describing is right out of the movie Platoon. In the opening scene, after Chris lands in Vietnam and he is actually getting off the plane, you see him pass a group of soldiers who are definitely battle hardened and have the 1,000-yard stare and have been through hell. And you also see a line of body bags on the tarmac as well. That served as a reality check to everyone getting off that plane.
That was a point of time. As an officer, I was in a dilemma, and I knew that where we are going to go right now is not what everyone has been perceiving it to be. Everybody's mindset changed. UN posting is, usually seen as the prestigious posting, is the cream of the Indian Army. We are representatives of our nation. So it's the best of the best that go there on foreign soil to operate. And with that mindset, it is something like that Black Hawk Down kind of a scenario. Like the troops moving out from the airbase into the city to get the guys out. So it was something like that we are going to enter into a country where shit just hit the fan, and there is no escape because the terrain is such, there is no place for cover.
What about the Sudanese army?
It's called SPLA, Sudanese People Liberation Army. So basically they have a warlord kind of a system. So every area has the, जैसे सरपंच होते हैं इंडियन लैंग्वेज में, तो वैसे वहाँ पे जो गाँव के सरपंच थे, so they are the people who gets the maximum number of fighters is given a rank accordingly. So a colonel could be a guy of age of 30-year-old.
And he's just recruited a lot of younger
He's
guys.
got like 200 guys with him. So they join the SPLA, they get trained and everything.
And I think being a warlord is very important in a war-torn country like that. And probably even being aligned with a warlord is very important, just simply to provide for your own family.
You've seen that movie 13 Hours, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi?
No, sir.
You know what was the saving grace of that particular CIA safe house? The local militia. They got them out from there
You mean
alive.
these?
So you got to see, initially the SPLA is an amalgamation of both the tribes, Dinka and Nuer tribe. So all is well till they are together and all is smooth. Sab acha hai, no differences happening. But the day when a failed military coup took place on the 6th of December 2013, around 6 to 700 Nuers were massacred in Juba. And once the news was out that Riek Machar has fled Juba and it was a failed attempted coup, on President Salva Kiir, who was a Dinka. So what actually went chaotically very wrong was in military barracks, troops went rogue.
Wow.
Ooh.
So everywhere, we were hearing gunshots everywhere.
Like the soldiers turned into the
Soldiers
terrorists.
turned onto themselves, the Dinka Noor. There were very few units which had a compact team of Dinka Noor together. But otherwise, there was a lot of defection taking place. The Noor commanders who were, the formation commanders, they defected from the SPLA
With weapons.
with every arsenal, everything. Right from tanks to weapons to ammunition to troops to logistics and administrative support. They said, "Acha, tum sab newer tribe ke ho, pack your bags, let's move out and we'll regroup and we'll come and we'll hit them back again." So it was so chaotic. So initial 6 months of 2013 till the month of December, things were like quite okay. Like it was fine. We were focused on our training aid and weapon systems and regular routine and schedule that we had, interactions with the UN staff and training modules taking place for troops regarding human rights and protocols of fire drills and everything. And सब ठीक चल रहा था. But at the back of the mind, 10th of April 2013 का याद था सबको that we had received mortal remains. So be careful.
Once part 2 is filmed, I will go ahead and put it right here for you guys. One thing about military coups that makes them so dangerous is the fact that they have all of the arsenal, the tanks, logistics, weapons, etc. Can't imagine how scary it was for anyone who was on the ground during that time. If you do want to help support the channel, all you gotta do is smash that like button or check this video out.